I'm Sister Lynn, a member of the Order of Lutheran Franciscans. This is the fourth Advent reflection on nonviolence. Today's topic is peacemaking. As we await again the coming of the Prince of Peace into our midst, we remember how Francis tried to be a warrior and didn't like it. He was wounded once, tried again, but returned home. He heard a message from God, "Francis, go and rebuild my church," which, as you can see, is falling into ruin. From then on, he dedicated his life to following Jesus. In 1219, the Crusades had been going on for over 100 years, with Christian leaders going to war in an attempt to evict the Muslims from Jerusalem. In Egypt, Sultan al-Malik al-Kamil wanted to end the Crusade war in his country. Francis and Brother Illuminatus were in Egypt at the time, seeking to tell the Egyptians about Jesus. They approached the Sultan's compound and were arrested and beaten, and then taken to see al-Kamil. Francis met him with a greeting, "May the Lord give you peace," which is quite similar to the Muslim greeting, "Peace be upon you." The Sultan was surprised and intrigued by this. We don't have any details about how their conversation went, but it lasted for several days. It appears they talked about common ground, faith, and spirituality, and came to understand and respect each other greatly. The war did not end because of this conversation, but we can learn from it. Francis calls us to be instruments of peace and shows us one way of doing this, by having deep conversations. When we speak our own truths and listen to each other with respect and openness, we can come to understand each other. Here's some thoughts about violence. No one really wins a war. War is an extreme form of violence, leaving both or all sides with significant losses. But violence isn't limited to war. Physical violence happens within our families, on the streets of our cities and towns, in schools and stores. It happens between gangs and by single shooters. Violence isn't just physical, of course. Our words, our body language, our facial expressions can all be violent. Samuel Wells, in an article in the December issue of Christian Century magazine, explains that anger can be a constructive emotion, pointing us to an awareness of wrongdoing. It can lead us to engage in seeking the good. Anger can become rage, but, he says, rage is something different. Rage tells us that we are justified in our violence, in the damage we are causing. Words and actions alone cannot dissipate rage. Rage requires that all involved agree to de-escalate, admit we are angry, and begin to trust others to modulate the situation. Unfortunately, there are many situations in our world today where people have not been heard when they were expressing their anger. Their anger becomes rage, and the rage becomes violence. We say to our children, use your words, not your fists. As followers of Jesus, the Prince of Peace, we are called to express our anger in nonviolent ways. We are called to listen to each other with patience and respect, and to seek ways to a peaceful solution to injustice. We are called to pray always for peace, for shalom. Jesus taught us this. Francis taught us this. Let's give it a try. Wishing you blessings and peace this Advent season.